Hey guys, welcome to the Physician Jobs Facebook group monthly seminar. I'm Dr. Christopher Liu, and today I'm going to be talking about the importance of financial literacy for the physician during the COVID-19 era, the top mindsets and skill sets that you need to start developing in order to ensure financial freedom and success during these challenging times, as well as how you can incorporate it and use it in your current job position to flourish in your career. I want to thank Dr. Andrea Paul for inviting me to give this talk to you. And I think it's very timely, relevant, and I'm going to give you a lot of good content and information. So quick disclaimer, today's information is for educational purposes only. I have no financial disclosures pertaining to this talk. Additionally, this is for educational purposes. So what works for me may not work for you in your particular situation. So do your due diligence, take what works for you, what resonates for you, and incorporate it into your daily practice and lives. A quick overview of today's talk. I'm going to give you a quick background, who I am, where I came from, so you can sort of get a general idea of my aspirations. I aim to motivate and inspire you through my entrepreneurial and very unique story. I'll also talk about highlight the need for financial literacy during these times. Physicians as a cohort, usually before COVID-19, enjoyed high amounts of job stability, but as we progress into the information and the creative ages, that idea of job stability will evolve and change. So we have to update our software as well as our paradigms. I'm going to talk about the top mindsets to have, the top skill sets to develop, how you can prepare yourself, and how you can use it to your advantage. And then I'll end with conclusion, a live Q&A, as well as my contact information if you're interested in following up with me. So a little bit about myself. Who am I? Where do I come from? What makes me qualified to be giving this talk? So I'm an orthopedic surgeon by training. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've started businesses starting from real estate and stocks. That's how I got my financial freedom. I then transitioned into becoming a full-time entrepreneur. I'm now an investor, a keynote speaker, author, and executive coach. So I have extensive experience in career transitions and entrepreneurship, especially for those interested in transitioning out of medicine, as well as starting their own companies and businesses. I've lived the walk. So I now currently, during these times, I now have an influx of clients who I educate, coach, and teach my clients how to create financial freedom and independence using my passive income blueprint model, where I teach clients how to create streams of income not tied to their jobs and that are not time dependent. I went to the Baylor College of Medicine and was part of the joint MD PhD program with Rice University in their Department of Engineering. So I got my PhD in nanotechnology, biotechnology, and back then Rice was a center for entrepreneurship. During grad school, I got to take a lot of MBA classes, and I started 2 companies during my second year of medical school involved in stock investing, options trading, and eventually into real estate investing. And that's where my financial independence came from. So at the age of 29, which was my final year of medical school, I was generating a 6-figure income apart from my medical studies, such that I really didn't need a job or work for anybody or a boss in order to sustain my lifestyle. However, I pursued the conventional route, matching into orthopedic surgery in 2007 at Rutgers University, only to find myself deeply unfulfilled and unhappy with my career choice. So in 2008, the day that Lehman Brothers filed for bankruptcy, during my training as a second-year orthopedic surgery resident, I took a leap of faith, walked into my chairman's office, and resigned on the spot, embarking on a full-time career as a real estate entrepreneur. So from 2008 to 2016, I invested in single-family condominiums, achieving fast and fat financial independence, early retirement in my mid-30s. So in my mid-30s, I no longer had to work for anybody. I did not need a job. I did not need to depend on the government, Social Security, pension, 401k plans for the rest of my life. So I could pretty much do whatever I pleased for my remaining entire living life. And I tell you this not to brag, but I tell you this because we don't really learn financial literacy, and we're not taught how to become financially independent apart from our jobs. And it's very extremely critical, especially for physicians that are high income earners where their livelihoods are tied to a single source of income. It's time to start thinking how to diversify and multiply your streams of income so that you can enjoy a better quality of life, better time with your family, friends, and a more fruitful and productive life. And that day back in 2008 was the best decision that I've ever made in my entire life. It was a high risk gamble, but it was very calculated and strategic. And I walked away, as I say, the rest is history, and I've never looked back since then. I started my consulting company in 2017 after taking a year off to travel the world. And I've written 4 books on Amazon. And I now sit on the advisory board of Valhalla Healthcare, which is an early stage healthcare AI startup where I direct digital health strategy. I've also appeared as a guest on multiple high-profile physician summits and podcasts, most notably Seek Conference in 2018, my recent article on Kevin MD talking about how COVID-19 is forcing physicians to rethink the concept of job security, got over 2,000 likes and shares. I've appeared on Peter Kim's Passive Income MD Leverage and Growth Summit this year, as well as I'll be a guest speaker talking about financial freedom at next year's White Coat Investors Conference in 2021. So since the COVID pandemic, I've pivoted and leveraged social media and technology, where I now doubled my online revenue and sales through leveraging social media and developing multiple streams of online passive income, where I direct monthly bootcamp mastermind accelerator series for physicians through affiliate partnerships, through webinars, and through keynote virtual speaker summits. I've also created my own Facebook group that is approximately 800 plus members and growing. And I'm set to take the TEDx stage in 2021, where I'll be discussing what one must do in order to survive and thrive during these times. So I want you guys to take a look at this chart of the Dow over the last 3 months or the last year or so, and since March. And in no time in history, we're living in unprecedented times. It is the only time in history where we're living in a social, political, financial, and health crisis simultaneously. So I grew up on the cusp of Gen X and millennials, and I've lived through 2 crises in addition to this one. So 9/11 and the 2008 real estate crisis. And the COVID-19 pandemic, the combined effects are much more severe, long-lasting, and pervasive than 9/11 and 2008 combined. So there's no time in history when we're living with such uncertainty regarding our future, incomes, security, and well-being. In particular, with the medical profession, we're losing a lot of our autonomy, our authority to manage care, to administration, to politics, as well as our overall sense of job security. But with great uncertainty comes great opportunity, which is my purpose in sharing this information with you today. In our profession, we're looking at eroding autonomy, eroding independence and authority. We're seeing that our skill set in knowledge and education is being commoditized, making us easily replaceable. So in particular, I like to point out at the peak of the crisis, when hospitals needed healthcare workers in large quantities, but couldn't afford to pay them, asking for volunteers, and then furloughing or laying off healthcare workers, not because of skill set, but because of the economics. On top of that, consider this: all of the executives, CEOs, and higher ups were working remotely, affecting no portion of their physical lives and well-being, while at the same time walking away with millions in bonuses. So if this is not the time to get smarter, we need to start preparing and start upgrading our paradigms and our thinking. So in terms of job security, we have to learn how to create our own job security and our own certainty. That's by building multiple streams of passive income, which I'm going to talk to you about, as well as it'll arm you in the future so that you can prosper in your jobs. I'm not asking you to leave your job or quit your job, but I'm asking you to start thinking about diversifying income streams, almost like your job insurance. And now is the best time to be considering and building these income streams, especially with this second wave coming. So what are the top mindsets that we, particularly us as physicians, need to develop? So in particular, we as physicians are very hardworking, we're intelligent, we're smart, we're caring, we're driven, we're very results oriented, we're very action oriented, and we have high integrity. So being a physician in itself gives you a platform to reach a lot of people. If I hadn't gone to the Baylor College of Medicine with an MD, PhD, my clientele would be severely limited and I wouldn't be taken as seriously. So just being a physician gives you a leg up on being able to influence others and make a difference in our society outside of clinical medicine. Okay. So, but what happens is that there's a disconnect between management and the healthcare workers. So the higher ups mistake all of these top, highly positive attributes, and they mistake that for weakness, and they start to take advantage of it. And so what we need is that we need to take our top mindsets that make us thrive clinically and apply those to new endeavors and situations, particularly in the business and entrepreneurial realms. We also need to identify mindsets that help us clinically, but hinder us in the entrepreneurial realms, and learn how to minimize limiting beliefs, mindsets, and develop newer and more empowering ones. So what are some of those mindsets? So for example, contrarian thinking. I'm not asking you to go against your boss or your institution, but there's a saying that one of my mentors talked to me was the difference between being an entrepreneur and being entrepreneurial. So contrarian thinking, you can always be thinking outside of the box. You can always be upgrading and innovating within your particular niche, your skill set, your department. You can always be doing innovative and creative things, and you don't have to go against the grain of your institution. These are called intrapreneurs. A lot of the my top clients that have gone on to build 7-figure, 8-figure businesses have really come from struggle or hardships that they've overcome. That's given them that skill set, that confidence. And same thing here. If I hadn't left my training in 2008, I wouldn't have been as successful, because taking the road less traveled and taking the less well-trodden path usually allows you a huge stepping stone in terms of drive and motivation and success. So what are the skill sets that we need to be considering? So it's the same paradigm that we're talking about, but now we have to bring it into a new realm. So problem solving, solutions oriented, results oriented, action oriented, and analytical. And a lot of the skill sets that will help you succeed as an entrepreneur, if you take these and apply them to the clinical realm and elsewhere, you will flourish. And I've seen that time and time again in my clients. I like to segment some of my client cohorts. So a lot of the younger generation, and a bit of the late stage career physicians. So a lot of the younger generations are more adapt and more enthusiastic about networking, and especially in particular about adopting technology. So technology is going to be a huge, vitally important component for succeeding in today's society. I've seen a lot of the older cohorts struggle because of their problems with networking, because in the past, through medicine, it was usually through handshake, it was through word of mouth, it was through a reference letter through your program director or your chairman. But now these days, you have to start networking outside of physician circles with physician influencers, with marketers, with business leaders, all these different areas in order to succeed. Additionally, the use of technology, because technology is becoming so pervasive and so dominant in our lives, and a lot of technology is causing a lot of the disruption that we're seeing in a lot of industries, including healthcare. So you have to get comfortable with technology, how to use social media, how to use technology to market, sell, brand, and advertise yourself, as well as you have to develop the skill sets of communicating, speaking, influencing, and persuading to your segment audience. The good thing about being a physician is that we do all of this stuff already. You just have to translate it into a new environment. So we influence our colleagues, we influence our patients and their families. So we can take all, and we do a lot of speaking right now, grand rounds, conferences, and things of that nature. So you have to take those skill sets and apply them into a business realm. So you're influencing, persuading, and talking to others in order to generate business contacts and leads. So how can you prepare yourself in these extremely challenging times? The first thing to do is start educating yourself. Education just takes your time, knowledge, and energy, and a little bit of investment if you want. But there's a lot of free information out there. You can start with the free stuff, networking, masterminds, a book. A book is, you usually can get a book now for like $10, even less. There's a lot of podcasts, depending on what form of media you like. Either it's audio, video, and print. A lot of digital programs, boot camps, workshops, and as we go higher and higher, coaching, group masterminds, and private one-on-one. Like I said, start out with the free stuff. Invest, your time into studying the different mindsets and the skill sets, and then work your way up there. So the beauty of it is that in today's age, which is the information age, information is a commodity. It's very freely available. It's what you do with the knowledge and how you apply it to your particular situation and circumstance that will make you successful. Finally, I want to end with this. How can you use this presentation, both in terms of mindset and skill set, and apply it to your current job situation so that you can flourish in your job? So one thing is that there was a study done where they took a cohort of individuals, and they showed that those with a single source of income from their job, and then another cohort where they had not only their income from their job, but they had other sources of income outside of their job, either from real estate, through stocks, either through another company, a consulting, a side gig, even such things as Social Security, pension, 401k, and those sort of things. And they showed that those that had greater in terms of job stability and job satisfaction was shown in those individuals that had a higher number of sources of income. And not and they the reason why is because a greater number of sources of income gives you greater options. So with greater options, you have greater freedom. So with freedom, you have a greater peace of mind. You have greater control over your time, your sources of income. You have greater control over, what you pay attention to, what you focus on, what you work on. So, like I said, I'm not asking you to, jump ship and leave your job, because leaving a full-time clinical income is a huge transition. But having alternative sources of income gives you more options. So it leads to better quality of life, better health, better relationships with your spouse, and also with your family and your kids, as well as better relationships with your colleagues, because you're no longer tied to that job. You're in that job because you want to and you love to, not because you have to. So that's one thing. The other thing is that having these different mindsets and skill sets and the ability to create additional sources of income gives you greater sources of ability to create value as a clinician in your institution, for your hospital, for your patients as well. So take my goal for you today was take those key ideas that I gave to you, and use it in order to further propel you in your job and career. Uh, I wish all of you to, become either entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs. So if you're interested, reach out to me. I'm happy to take any questions, both live and also through email or social media. And I can be reached at either Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. That's my handle, Dr. Chris Liu, MD, PhD. You can find me on YouTube, Facebook. My 4 books are on Amazon. And if you're interested in, further coaching or, attending my webinars, my monthly workshops, or my monthly masterminds, you can always email me at Christopher Liu, MD, PhD. Again, I thank you for your time and attention. I hope this was valuable and helpful to you, and I wish you guys the best success. And I thank Andrea Paul for inviting me. Thank you.